So what we effectively have with version 1 of the website is a crude design layout, and effectively it's a prototype from which we can effectively conduct some user experience testing. And the way I've gone about to do the user experience testing is to do a usability script. So I run through a usability script with uh, 3 candidates. So normally I would do 5 candidates, but again, because it's such a sort of small site, I thought a sample size of 3 would be adequate for our purposes. And if we prove that we need to sort of refine that later on, then that's entirely possible as well. In further testing, before we do the usability test, we would sort of have information such as some background questions, and this is important just to establish some personas of the kind of people visiting the website, and I would assign a few. I would have a few assumptions about the people I would use to test this, assuming they would they would have mobile devices with internet, and then I would go about asking them to use the website and to perform various tasks on the website and see how they get along there. And the way I would go about recording the results of this test would be one through screen recordings, but also voice recordings. So, for example,
Or is that? I'm sorry, does Facebook do that?
So,
So what are you reading?
I'm reading a bit about. Yeah, you mentioned there's coaching and hosting international tournaments. Coaching should be a link, shouldn't it?
Okay. Do you think it should be a link to?
And so should international tournaments. So you get not a link to booking it, but a description of coaching. What kind of coaching do we offer? And international tournaments.
Do you want more information about coaching and international?
Or just an example of previous international tournaments.
All right.
So that informed a lot of what content went into the final site. So I did that for 3 candidates with the screen recording as well as the voice recordings, and compiled them into an affinity diagram. So what you see here is effectively, I would start off by just picking out all the points that were mentioned in each of the case studies that I conducted, and all the usability tests that I conducted, and then form groupings of similar tasks. So, for example, the information hierarchy. So, what's it about? And then obviously there's some notes there, and then just effectively group together sort of sections of content which I think are related, and see from the 3 usability tests that I conducted if there are any common threads, and obviously there are a lot of common threads. So this effectively forms the map for all future content that I've sort of created for the website. And also it gives me a bit of a list of as well of the kind of steps that I would be able to create based on that feedback. So, for example, so this is the kind of text that list on my on the things that I would be able to sort of provide updates to the website, basically. So from that, we get to the final version of the website. So let's bring that up here. Yeah, so with this, you have the completed version of the website where you have the video. I've made sure the video is auto-animated, so it's the video will start to run automatically, but it will run muted so that whilst people are visiting the website, so say from the mobile website, um, they can have a feel for what the club is about by viewing the video, but at the same time scanning through the key parts of the content of the website. So this is a very concise summary of what the website does. It talks about the social, competitiveness, as well as this information previously wasn't on here. So one of the candidates, two of the candidates said that they wanted to know the hard facts about the club. So for example, when it was and where it was, and obviously I've made it also more inducing by saying including the whole message about being able to try the club for free for the first time. Also, the messaging on the button is different now. So previously, it would be about finding out about how to, but it would be about how to try out the club for free. Whereas now this is a more general, much more softer, much more friendly, clickable link in terms of um, something that people won't be too scared to click on and committing to. And then, again, added subtle drop shadows. For these gradients, I've actually toned them down a bit more so that the white text stands out from them. I've included links to the various components that the candidates were interested in. Provided additional detail about uh, when and where the club was. Added useful little touches like external link icons. So I used a link icon set from Font Awesome, and what that's allowed me to do. So, for example, with the pricing is just give it a bit more of an interest in terms of, and much more scannable again in terms of all the member benefits, and add a little bit of coloring just to highlight some sort of the key important points. And again, just made sure that I provided good call to actions for each point being made on the website. So, for example, find about competing. Again, lots of subheaders so that the text is very scannable. Included lots of other useful information. So the homepage video is fed by YouTube. So this is so that we can make sure that the resolution and the bit rate, the data rate scales accordingly to the whichever platform the user is visiting it from. But for some of the other video clips I've included, these other video clips have been included because and aren't from YouTube. Are direct links because these are just sort of snippets basically, so they're a lot less data intensive, and again just gives people a feel of the club. And again, always sort of effectively funneling the user towards trying out the club, and also lots of sort of handy information like things like what to bring. So effectively, there's been a whole lot of providing additional content in as clean a way as possible, and always having the user have some kind of route and some kind of call to action to do effectively. The menus, I've created them again as a simple drop down, and there's a rule of psychology where people can't focus on more than 7 items. So I made sure to cluster similarly themed links together. And One of the other things I've also done is, so for example, links that are on the same page, there's smooth scrolling. So what that does is it means that you don't lose context of where you are on the web page. One other aspect that was quite important in the that was received in the testing was that uh, uh, the candidates were keen to find out more about the club in terms from reviews of the club. In other words, testimonials and linking into it from Facebook or Meetup. Uh, they were keen to find out from real people what the site was actually like. So it was important to provide a variety of different testimonials for the website. And hopes to appreciate as well that little bar at the top here um, just gives a subtle hint to the original website from many a year ago. So I thought that was just a nice little touch. And also because it was a clear block of white, just to add that little accent color at the top, just gives it a bit more vibrancy. So that concludes the walkthrough of the new website I've created for Gay Badminton Amsterdam. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions for me or comments, please contact me at isan@id.com. So if I just like to explain in terms of my domain name, id.com is pronounced as in identity design. So that's where that comes from. And obviously IY is Isan Yasmin design. So that's just where that comes from. So thank you for viewing my case study and hope you enjoyed it and hope you found it useful.